I first knew I wanted to make films actually from very early on, since I was 16. For some reason, I've always been into books, into cinema, into comics, like anything that brings me into an alternate world, I really love. So anything that provided, I guess, an escape to my immediate life, that's something I always enjoyed. And I felt like I learned so much about the world from films. So because I guess I love watching films so much, like becoming a filmmaker is just a natural next step. But I knew that before I found filmmaking, I was very, very lost in some ways. I always felt, I guess, dissatisfied, unfulfilled. I just imagined my life and like in Singapore, and I guess going to like doing a normal job, like going 9 to 5, like somehow I guess there was something about that I wasn't drawn to, and I was actually like pretty worried about what my life would be, and I felt very, I guess, lost and unhappy. But once I started filmmaking, everything, I guess, just organically fell into place. I feel like I'm someone who has a lot of energy, and if I don't channel it into the proper place, it can go quite wrong, I think. So then it was good that I found filmmaking, and it was something that I can fully invest myself into. And even though I feel very spent every time I make a film, but I feel almost like satisfied internally, like I feel like my spirit is like happy.
ฉันเพิ่งเจออีตานี้อยู่ที่ในเมืองเห็นคุยโม้ในตัวว่าเจอเทวดามาแต่ตอนนี้สงสัยเจอยมบาลซะมากกว่า
You know, before I went to New York, I actually lived for Thailand in 2 years. And I think while I was in Thailand, I was in my early 20s, early to mid 20s. And I think it was one of the first time in my life I lived somewhere that was so completely different from Singapore. So a lot of my memories of Thailand were very fresh. It felt like I could do anything in Thailand. I was like liberated from my family, from everything. And it was there that I found, I guess, like a way to see life differently than what I knew in Singapore. Like I felt somehow that in Singapore things are always so structured. There's like an A, B, C, D, E way of doing things, but in Thailand everything just feels more lateral, and lives kind of come in and come out. And I think I actually learned a lot on how to live loosely but still meaningfully while I was in Thailand. And I think living in many different countries will have influenced me, because I feel like all these experiences I've gained overseas, in some ways, they shape and mold me as a person. They shape my how I see the world. They shape my worldview, my attitude. Yeah, and I feel like it's almost inevitable that my experiences living overseas have influenced me in some ways. And I think absorbing all these cultures help also, because it teaches me, I guess, to be non-judgmental and to be more open and empathetic towards people who are different from you, to understand like people with different life experiences. And I think having that openness really helps in, I think, understanding like different kinds of characters that you write. So it's easier for me in some ways to get out of myself and to put myself into the shoes of like people with different life experiences based on all those observations that I guess I gained while living everywhere.
สองคนเหมือนกันเลยนะแก่ต้องอ้วนอยู่บ้านอยู่ Bye-bye.
You know, it's interesting, when I make films, I think I'm pretty instinctive. Like I think it comes from somewhere that I can't really explain, but at the same time, when it comes out, right, and I look at the pattern of all my past works, like certain themes just seem to naturally emerge. For some reason, I'm always into time. There's always like this element of time in my films. And I think that's only because I'm interested in existence, right? I'm interested in life itself, and I feel like time kind of marks how we live on Earth. Like it's like the start and the end of life. So I feel like that's why I'm naturally into time. And somehow all my works kind of reflect a certain kind of humor and pathos. Like I like the balance between like comedy, but not slapstick comedy, but a certain bit of comedy that's a bit like off, and then I try to balance that with like something maybe melancholic, like to use these two to kind of counter each other. Yeah. So that the tone never ever gets, I guess, predictable.